What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be discussing how last Saturday the Jaguars did the impossible. So as we all know, the 8-8 Jaguars beat their divisional rival, the 7-9 Titans, last Saturday to punch their way into the playoffs, ending a 4-year playoff drought. Since their playoff berth in 2017, the Jaguars have been terrible, ranking last in the AFC South in all 4 seasons from 2018 to 2021. This brings us to now, where they are finally first in the AFC South. The AFC South is actually a poverty, terrible division record-wise, but hey, a win is a win. Anyways, let's talk about how they got here this season. So first of all, the Jaguars entered the 2022 season with their leader, sophomore quarterback Trevor Lawrence. During the offseason, they surrounded Trevor with head coach Doug Peterson and electrifying playmakers and better linemen. Some of those players included Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Brandon Sheriff. They also made key defensive signings, such as defensive end Arden Key, who has 4.5 sacks on the season, which isn't great, but it's still a noticeable amount. And most notable, leading the NFL in total tackles, linebacker Foyesade Aluakon. Looking back, these free agent signings were a home run hit, but in the beginning, some people thought they were kind of being overpaid, especially Christian Kirk, who was signed to a 4-year, $72 million contract. Even I kind of question it, because although he wasn't bad in Arizona, I don't think he was worth that much, especially because he never broke 1,000 yards in receiving in a single season. Obviously, though, he has proved me and everybody else who doubted him wrong, and it is a key piece to the Jaguars' offense. The Jaguars started off their first 8 games of their season going 2-6. It was starting to look like a repeat of the 2021 season. Trevor Lawrence was struggling, recording a 62% completion percentage and 1,840 passing yards. Also recorded 10 passing touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Now, those stats aren't the end of the world, but that's besides the point. Lawrence was choking in big moments and didn't look very comfortable. More importantly, they were not winning games. Meanwhile, the rivals in Nashville were doing significantly better, going 5-3 in their first 8 games. The Jaguars weren't even competing for a playoff spot at this point, and it was just basically another repeat of the 2021 season. After a heartbreaking loss to the Broncos in Week 8, the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence would start to catch fire, going 6-2 through Week 17. Trevor Lawrence had an absurd 70.5% completion percentage and threw for 2,061 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. Lawrence was making big plays in big games and was starting to look like a true number 1 overall pick. The Jaguars were 8-8 and controlled their own destiny. For the first time in 5 years, there was true playoff hype for Jacksonville, especially after they beat the Cowboys in the overtime thriller in Week 15, 40-34. Meanwhile, the Ops in Nashville were drowning. From Week 8 to Week 17, they went 2-6. The Titans had lost 6 games in a row and single-handedly gave the Jaguars life for a playoff spot. Of course, they were down 2 quarterbacks. They lost Ryan Tannehill to an ankle injury for the rest of the season, and their backup Malik Willis wasn't playing well and eventually got injured, so that ended up leaving them to sign and play the GOAT himself, Joshua Dobbs. On top of that, the King, Derrick Henry, was injured for a good amount of the second half of the season, which did not help one bit. Even though they lost 6 games in a row, they were 7-9, and all they had to do to get in the postseason was to beat the blazing hot Jacksonville Jaguars. This game and what it came down to was absolutely insane. The main questions were, could the Jaguars beat the Titans like they did earlier in the year and finally make it to the playoffs for the first time in 4 seasons? And could the Titans snap their 6-game losing streak to barely sneak into the playoffs? Both teams controlled their destiny, and it was a win-and-in type game. In the first half, the Titans were playing surprisingly good. Derrick Henry would be stopped on some plays, but then come back swinging on another. Henry was stiff-arming guys left and right and delivering huge blows, but the Jaguars D mainly held up strong. Joshua Dobbs was playing good enough to keep them in the game and even threw a touchdown pass to Chig Okonkwo with 5 minutes and 53 seconds left in the second quarter. This was the first touchdown of the game and would make the score 10-0 with Tennessee leading. Trevor Lawrence was also playing well, hitting his checkdowns and making good reads. Unfortunately for the Jaguars, they couldn't get a running game going, recording less than 20 yards during the half. Lawrence would end up hitting a wide-open Christian Kirk for the second touchdown of the game with 2 minutes and 36 seconds left in the second quarter. This would make the score 10-7 before the Titans would drive down the field and with 3 seconds left, kick a field goal to go up 13-7. In the second half, Trevor Lawrence would start to struggle, missing a few passes. The most notable one was on the first drive on the second half, where he missed Zay Jones for a wide-open touchdown. The Jaguars ended up settling for 3 points, but could have gotten 7. This cut the Titans' lead to only 3 points with a score of 13-10. Joshua Dobbs would continue to play well enough to keep the Titans in the game, and he would lead them to a drive that would end up in 3 points, with 6 minutes and 3 seconds left in the third quarter, putting the Titans ahead at 16-10. Throughout the quarter, Lawrence would continue to struggle with no run game, along with struggling to get yards to the air. The Jaguars' offense was just not able to move the ball, to put it simple. The Jaguars would have to rely on their defense to keep them in the game, or they would simply lose. The Jaguars' defense would make a huge play, and Tyson Campbell would intercept Joshua Dobbs with 48 seconds left in the third quarter, turning the momentum in favor of Jacksonville. Of course, the Jaguars' offense sputtered out, and they had to kick a field goal for 3 points with 14 minutes and 54 seconds left in the fourth quarter. This would cut the Titans' lead by 3 points, making the score 16-13. Things were starting to get intense. The Titans got the ball back, but Jacksonville's red-hot defense stepped up and sacked Dobbs on 3rd and 7 with 13 minutes and 18 seconds left in the game. After a couple more offensive sputters and defensive stops by the Jaguars, the Titans would get the ball back with about 8 minutes left in the game. The Jaguars were down 16-13 and needed a huge defensive stop once again. The Titans' goal was to run down the clock. They were successful in doing it for a while. Derrick Henry was playing grown man football, punishing anyone who dared to attempt to tackle him. After shaving about 5 minutes off the clock with 2 minutes and 58 seconds left to go, Dobbs would drop back on 3rd and 6 to try to pick up a first down and keep the clock running. That's when the Jaguars would dial up a free safety blitz, and Rayshawn Jenkins would come screaming around the left side of the offensive line, hitting Dobbs in his blind side and ultimately causing a fumble that outside linebacker Josh Allen would pick up and return 37 yards for a touchdown. This was a Jaguars defensive miracle and would put them ahead 20-16. The Titans would get the ball back and have to convert on a 4th and 13 on their own 47-yard line to keep the game alive. Joshua Dobbs would drop back and check it down to his running back, who was only able to pick up about 10 of those 13 yards that he needed. The Jaguars defense would come through and pretty much win them the game, ending the 4-year playoff drought. T-Law would kneel a few times until the clock hit 0. The Jaguars would go to the wildcard round after a crazy season. To be honest with you guys, this was really a great game. It's really a game where the defense had to carry the offense on its back, and you don't really see that much in the NFL nowadays. But the Jaguars defense is just so young, and they have so much potential, along with the offense too. And we'll see how they do in that wild card round. Of course, they'll probably be first round exits. I mean, they got to play the Chargers, but they have beat the Chargers earlier in the season, which is really kind of crazy. If they make it to the AFC Championship, we'll just have to see who they play. I mean, I personally don't think they're good enough to get to the divisional championship, much less the Super Bowl. Some people are saying Super Bowl. I'm saying no Super Bowl. I'm not even saying AFC Championship, to be honest, because I think they're going to be wild card exits. Even though I like the Jaguars, I mean, it's not like I'm a Titans fan or anything, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, we'll just have to see what they can do. I mean, people doubted them at the start of the season, and look where they are now. So hopefully they're able to get to the Super Bowl and win it. Shoot. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, I'd be appreciative if you liked and subscribed. My PayPal's in the description, so if you'd like to donate, feel free, but you don't really have to. Thanks for watching to the end. Have a good day. Peace.